Hello everyone, this is Darcy here. Even though I'm primarily focusing on the prequel era, I like to explore other parts of the Star Wars universe. Since it's not a long series like New Jedi Order, I think I could deviate every now and then. This is Star Wars Legacy of the Force. This is the first book called Betrayal, which is written by R.L. Austin. May he rest in peace. This is a 9-book series written by 3 different authors, the others being Kevin Travis, which is Bloodlines, and Tempest, which is written by Troy Denning. This was a project that was done after the prequels were over. At this point, the Sith weren't used that much in Star Wars other than the ancient era. So when the prequel trilogy was done, it opened up the doors for, many stories to come. Some people, loved them and others loathed them. Legacy of the Force, there is something that people either love or some people hate. Some people don't like the dark tone in it. Now, this is the first book in the series. I've read some reviews that they feel like this was a character assassination for Jacen Solo. I don't agree with that, honestly. I think those who don't like it because Jacen falls to the dark side don't understand his character and the things that he went through in the New Jedi Order series. And I know this is where they freaking got some of their ideas for Kylo Ren. But, for this series of books. Anyway, how does this series start off? It starts off really good. One thing I will give, the EU for, when it starts a storyline, it starts with a fucking bang. The New Jedi Order series did this, and this started off with a major bang. While I was reading the Dark Nest trilogy, I was wanting to read this so bad, which I was originally going to read this, but because of the cliffhanger, I wanted to know what happened next. It took me within a few reading sessions to finish this book. The story for this is a few years have passed since the Dark Nest trilogy, and the Galactic Alliance, tensions between them and the Cornelian, worlds is escalating to a point where it could cause a second galactic civil war. I wonder where they got their idea from in Force Awakens. And loyalties are split between the Solos and the Skywalkers. This, I believe, is when you start seeing a schism. Of course, I'm not referring to the schism that splits them completely. I do feel like you see a schism here. Luke sees a vision of a dark man, and throughout this entire book, he's unsure who it is. Jacen, along with Ben Skywalker, who the first time in the entire EU, he actually is a character who actually has a role in the story. Jacen is sent on various missions throughout this book. One on Center Point Station, another I'll tell you towards the end. The thing I love about this book, about the story, is I really like the interactions with the characters, and I really like the things they set up, honestly. And I feel like this is probably a great way they utilize Luke Skywalker in this book. And the balance between all the screen time of all the characters, was pretty good. And this is probably the first time that they have prequel references in the expanded universe and post Return of the Jedi. Because at this point, the old, basically the prequels are barely even mentioned. They mention Count Dooku, Darth Sidious. Hell, they even mention Era Secura, and they even mention certain things of the Old Republic. So, because they had the opportunity to actually reference those events, I feel like it does open it up for a grander story. And in a lot of ways, I think this book kind of mirrors the prequels in a lot of ways. It's not a retelling, but the prequels had a similar thing going on where there was a schism between various worlds in the Old Republic, and they wanted to succeed from it, which created the Confederacy. And it's interesting to see history repeating itself. And Jason Solo, he's an interesting character in this. He really is. I don't believe they assassinated his character. I feel like because I've read about this character for so long, and to get to where he is now, to basically take the first step to becoming a Sith Lord, which happens at the end of this book. I think it's brilliant how this path to the dark side that Errol Austin wrote for Jason Solo in his first step. And it was actually interesting because Jason, his path started with him thinking he's going to do some good. Lamaya, which he's looking. I'm not going to spoil everything that happens in here, but he tracks down Lamaya, which she doesn't go by that name, which is interesting because the Marvel comics, the original ones, were not considered in the same level of canon as everything else. Well, this book references a character and some events from those comics, which is really interesting. Which goes to show you just how tight the expanded universe connected, just how well its continuity was managed at the time. Also, it answered some questions about Virgir, which I've reviewed both of these books, but Rogue Planet, along with Destiny's Way, doesn't answer the question why Virgir, went with the Yuuzhan Vong. Well, this book explains it. Of course, there's some things that people have a problem with. That Virgir apparently was a Sith the whole time. No. She was one of the candidates to become Darth Sidious' apprentice. She wasn't an actual Sith. And it makes sense if you actually read the book Traitor on her having some Sith-like teachings. It makes perfect sense. It's not a contradiction, nor is it a retcon, because it's just filling in some gaps that were never explained before. And even though I believe she's lying, it does bring up an interesting point about the Sith. Honestly. And I feel like this is probably the book where the lines between good and evil are pretty blurred in here. And honestly, I don't know who to root for this time. I don't know I should root for Luke, Jason, Han and Wedge. And I feel like this feels like the Game of Thrones of Star Wars right now. Because, I don't know who to root for this time. With the Yuuzhan Vong, you know who to root for. Here, you don't really. Because a galactic civil war is about to erupt. And at this point, I'm rooting for Jason right now. But then again, that's very hard because I want to root for Luke Skywalker as well. Anyway, the overall story is really good. And it makes you want to read more. Betrayal, I believe, doesn't assassinate Jason's character at all. I feel like it develops him even further. It takes his character to the next level. And it's interesting to see him and Darth Vader have so many similarities. And that's what makes it tragic in a way, his fall to the dark side. And Betrayal left a impact on me. I really love this book. Then again, I haven't had this much of an impression of a series since the New Jedi Order series when I read Vector Prime. Nothing major happens where a character gets killed off, but an event is happening that's going to occur a few books from now, which is the turning point for Jason's character. This is the start of that turning point. And I feel like the character arc that was set up with Traydor is starting to come it's heading towards its conclusion in here. Because Jason from Traitor was set to fall to the dark side. I believe that. And I believe this is the beginning of the end for Jason Solo. This was a really good book. If you have read the New Jedi Order series and you're hungry for more and you weren't too happy with the Darkness trilogy because of the weird thing with the Krorks, and you kind of want something that's more back to basics, I think this is it. And at this point, they still had it. The writers at Lucasfilm, crafting a story where you have no idea who to root for. I really don't. And I enjoy that kind of storytelling. And Legacy of the Force, I give this a classic rating. I think it's really good. And definitely a great start to a series. Now, let's hope this book continues to tread. Have a good day, guys. May the Force be with you. And as always, see you guys next time. Bye.